Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
How is it going, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Football Week 5. We do have 2 Monday Night Football games tonight, but as always, we are streaming on Monday. Last week, I said no Monday show. And this week, I'm telling you that I am terrible with scheduling. So no Monday show next week. We'll do it next Tuesday. Obviously, we're live here today and normally every single Monday afternoon, late morning, early afternoon. So definitely jump in every single time. Subscribe so you do not miss it. We'll go over some ad drop, waiver wire stuff. We'll go over your trade questions if you have any other fantasy football related news, injury news. We got the most trending players on Sleeper like we always do. We will start with that. And yeah, absolutely anything that you guys have a question about, do not be afraid to ask. The best place, obviously, subscribe over on YouTube, the Flurry Sports YouTube channel, and ask your questions there. But Facebook, Twitch, my Twitter at Fantasy Flurry, wherever, go ahead and do that. This is also the first week of bye weeks. So we are starting off with 4 teams on bye. We got 2 teams that are playing tonight, Detroit Lions, Tennessee Titans. Both of them are on bye, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Chargers. If you want to get ahead of the game and you're feeling pretty good about week 5, you want to prepare for week 6. Week 6, we got 4 teams on bye as well. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Rams, Miami Dolphins, and Minnesota Vikings. So I would say week 6 is definitely going to be harder for most fantasy teams than week 5. But even this upcoming week, you'll have to deal without Jalen Hurts. Maybe some people are playing Jared Goff. We got some good running backs, obviously the duo in Detroit. We got Saquon Barkley, maybe J.K. Dobbins, Tony Pollard. So a lot of running backs, and there's running back injuries on top of that. Receivers, for the most part, you've been dealing with a lot of those receivers, other than Amon-Ra. Obviously, people have been relying on him. But yes, if you have some weird situations where you are going to have to stream wide receivers, stream different positions, Flurry Sports will have articles specifically for streamers later in the week if you do miss out on some of those top waiver wire ads. So watch and read flurrysports.org for that. But for the top pickups, we will go over them today here. If you have a question on where you should be spending your fab bucks, ask away. Before we jump into anything, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. In Underdog Fantasy, you can win a bunch of money over there tonight. Obviously, the Underdog Fantasy app, underdogfantasy.com, or just scan the QR code on the screen that you see right now and use the promo code FLURRY, FLURRY, and you will get a $1,000 bonus, up to a $1,000 bonus on your first deposit. You'll support the show, support the company as well, and you'll be getting a bunch of promos. Underdog's been doing insane pick'em promos over there. So whether you are wanting to go and play pick'em, which is higher or lower, a variety of stats, fantasy points, all of the above for a bunch of different players, you can make a bunch of money there, string the picks together, and win big bucks. Or you can jump into live drafts with other people. And right now, obviously, NBA, NHL are about to start. You can do best ball, which is season-long drafts there for that. Or you can do drafts specifically for Monday Night Football tonight, every single NFL week. And there's college football, there's college sports, there's esports, there's all kinds of stuff. Endless possibilities to make money. Obviously, the easiest win will be to use that promo code FLURRY, FLURRY, and you get that $1,000 bonus. So don't miss that. You would be a fool to pass this up. Now, let's go over some of the trending players on Sleeper. And I don't know why I haven't been doing this, but let's just, no. was going to show it on my screen, but fuck it. We will not be spending too much time here, but we will go over the top trending players, the most picked up players over on Sleeper Fantasy. Number one, no surprise, especially with all the quarterback issues and the upcoming bye weeks. We got Joe Flacco picked up almost 270,000 times. Obviously, he came in for the injured Anthony Richardson and lit up the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lit up his 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he played pretty well. He has the Jaguars coming up this week. Titans, Dolphins after that. We do not know how long Anthony Richardson is out for, but I can only assume the Colts are not going to rush him for a variety of reasons, right? One, they want to make sure he's 100% healthy. And two, Joe Flacco is better. So if they can pick up some wins while Anthony Richardson's out before they bring him back, that would be good. Certainly a wild move to have Anthony Richardson get hurt, leave the game, come back, and immediately call a called run play for him. And then he obviously gets hurt again. That was interesting. Number two most trending player, Justice Hill. Justice Hill, we've talked about a bunch. Talked about him a bunch last year. We talked about him a bunch preseason. We talked about him a bunch, obviously, after that week 1 performance. But it was his Sunday Night Football performance that was insane this week. 4 carries, 18 yards, but it was 6 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown that won people plenty of money playing DFS, playing underdog pick'em. Promo code Flurry. You definitely could have made money off of Justice Hill. I believe his receiving yards prop was at like 24 yards, maybe. Like he crushed it. He crushed his rushing prop, I believe, as well. He did all of the above. He's an animal. And he has an every week role. Obviously, if the game script goes where the Ravens have to pass, he's going to be much more involved. But as it showed last night, the Ravens were firmly in charge of that game from pretty much start to finish, and he still was used plenty. So he is definitely a flex player in PPR leagues going forward, I would say. Number 3 most picked up players, Justin Fields. Justin Fields had a pretty good fantasy day, a great fantasy day with the 55 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He actually passed for over 300 yards as well against the Colts defense. Colts got the win, but it's still the Colts defense. Justin Fields will then play, and I do believe this is his job unless he loses a couple games in a row. He has the Cowboys this week at home, and then he goes to the Raiders. I will say, if he loses to the Cowboys, I think he's still safe. If he then loses to the Raiders, that's 3 losses in a row, capped off with a loss to the Raiders. Then all of a sudden, hey, Russell Wilson, maybe you're healthy enough to come back now. You know what I mean? But for right now, Justin Fields is in charge. Justin Fields has that job, and his legs alone make him worthwhile for fantasy. And 300 yards, that's pretty damn good. If he's going to start to air it out a little bit, or at least show that he's capable of doing it, I think that's huge. Number 4, Kareem Hunt. So Carson Steele fumbled, didn't play super well. Obviously, he didn't really do much after he fumbled. Kareem Hunt came in, and I think he looked better than the Chiefs expected him to. So for that alone, I think Kareem Hunt is the guy to own there for right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire can come back this week. I think that will eat Kareem Hunt a little bit. I think Carson Steele, fully droppable. If you can trade him for anything whatsoever, package him with somebody as a little upgrade on the trade, to package him there, kind of hide him in, make it seem like you're adding value when you're not really. Go ahead and do that. But I think Carson Steele, fully droppable. The experiment is over. Kareem Hunt is here. 14 carries, 69 yards, 2 catches, 16 yards. He's just way better than Carson Steele. It's not really close. And then number 5, a player I am excited about. I like him quite a bit. Trey Tucker for the Raiders, second-year player out of Cincinnati. He has been playing a lot of snaps just in general. And with Devontae Adams out, obviously, he was an even bigger part of the game plan. But 78% of the snaps in week 1, over 80% of the snaps in back-to-back weeks. Last week, he had 96 receiving yards and a touchdown on 9 targets. This week, he has 6 targets, 41 yards. He also had a carry for a touchdown. It sounds as though Devontae Adams is out at least 1 more week. They play the Broncos next week. I think Jacoby Myers will be seeing the we'll be seeing the, why can't I think of his name now? Corner. Not Cortland Sutton. What the fuck's his name? Surtain. Hoofda. He'll see Surtain's coverage, which then they can move Trey Tucker around a little bit. He's the more explosive guy. I think he has decent value going forward, to be honest. I would value him more as a wide receiver 4. But if you are desperate, if you have bye weeks, if you're in any weird situation, I think Trey Tucker can be played as a wide receiver 3. And if you're in dynasty leagues, certainly the Raiders could trade Devontae Adams, right? And now you have seen how involved Trey Tucker is without Devontae Adams on the field. So in dynasty, must own. I think he's pretty valuable in dynasty, to be completely honest. Yeah, I like him quite a bit. He's a good player. But that is our top 5 most picked up players over on Sleeper Fantasy. Immediately after that, Zach Ertz. He continues to be steady at tight end. Trey Sermon, obviously Jonathan Taylor went down. Josh Downs looked really good with Joe Flacco in there. Dontavian Wicks is just a very good football player. Tank Bigsby, Trey Tucker Kraft, all of that. The most dropped players in Sleeper Fantasy, over 200,000 drops is a name I just said. Carson Steele, feel free to drop him. He is owned in 70% of Sleeper Fantasy leagues, not for long. Cam Akers, number 2 most dropped player, over 97,000 drops. He wasn't especially great this week. He was fine, whatever. But Joe Mixon most likely to come back next week. And I would assume Dameon Pierce is getting close to returning as well, which would immediately put Cam Akers back down to running back 3 at best. And then there's just other players. Emmanuel Wilson's like one of the most dropped. He probably shouldn't be dropped at the current moment. Jalen Naylor's not useful, obviously, with Jordan Addison back. Quentin Johnston, we talked about him last week. I think people were overvaluing him. Mark Andrews, though, the 7th most dropped player. And I think that's interesting. I think there is zero doubt that Mark Andrews is droppable. I don't think he's a must drop whatsoever. But I'm not, I wouldn't panic if I did drop him. I wouldn't be worried about him going off. You know what I mean? And if he did have a good week next week after dropping him, I don't think he's going to have a great week 5 or week 6 rather. Like, I don't think he is going to be consistently valuable for fantasy at any point the rest of the season. Nino, what's up? And anybody else, definitely ask questions. You need trade advice when I have the time. I have the time. So drop anything and everything in the chat. Let me know. Let's go over some of the injuries, though. I just wrote down a few of them. We just talked about Jonathan Taylor. Sounds like an ankle sprain. They didn't say if he's going to miss extended time, but I would assume he misses next week. Trey Sermon's one of the most picked up players. And I'm just not a Trey Sermon guy. He doesn't excite me whatsoever. Remember, Leonard Fournette worked out for the Colts earlier this offseason. That's definitely a name to watch if you are in a deep league and you have bench spots to burn. If you are in a dynasty league and you have bench spots to burn, maybe you look to see Leonard Fournette. You know, he could certainly find his way onto a roster and have a decent role going forward. This also feels like the Dalvin Cook week to me. So Dalvin Cook's another one of those veterans that could emerge out of nowhere and have value. We just saw Kareem Hunt. Leonard Fournette's certainly a candidate in Indy. And Dalvin Cook, obviously, still on that Dallas Cowboys practice squad. It feels like he's going to get elevated this week. Obviously, not a must pick up. I wouldn't burn much of anything for him. But if you have an empty spot, worth looking at. Okay, Nino is in a 10-man PPR. Got offered. Why do I not know who HIS is? Let me know who that is. Justin Jefferson, J-Mo, and Swift for Kupp, Higgins, and Chase Brown, and Jonathan Brooks. I mean, yeah. Why do I not know who HIS is? Please help me out. I feel stupid. But I like it. His team currently looks like Dak, Kamara, you're stacked. James Conner, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Sam Laporta, T. Higgins, Braylon Allen, not Garrett Wilson, different Wilson on your bench. Trey Benson, Chase Brown, Jonathan Brooks, Rashid Shaheed, and Kupp. Okay, thank God. his Justin Jefferson is what it is. I would accept that trade. I like that trade. Getting Justin Jefferson is obviously he's the best player in the trade. And I believe Cooper Kupp is still probably around a month out. Oh yeah, Nino. I saw that. Took me a second. Brain buster. I think Cooper Kupp's still a month out. I think if we're being optimistic, he is 2 to 3 weeks out. I can't remember when their bye week is. I can look right now. Let's see. So the Rams have a bye in week 6. They play the Packers this week. Bye after that. Raiders. I would expect him at the earliest, to be honest. I think at the earliest it's going to be Vikings week 8. So that's a lot of time to wait for somebody who certainly could get hurt right away again. And who knows if Matthew Stafford's around at that point as well. But yeah, I would definitely do that trade. He's worried about the Kupp part because I thought it'd be a week, maybe 2, definitely pulling the trigger. The only reason they didn't put him on IR is because they had already too many players. The IR rule in the NFL, you can only designate a certain number of players to come back, and they already put too many players on IR. So the fact that he didn't go on IR wasn't suggesting that he was out less than 4 weeks. It's just because the Rams are so beat up right now. It's impossible. But yeah, I would definitely accept that trade. Other injuries, we just talked about Jonathan Taylor, Rashee Rice. It sounds like that is a torn ACL, so out for the season. We'll talk about some players that you can replace him with on waivers in a second. That is definitely a team, obviously, in the Chiefs that should be looking and probably will be looking to trade for a wide receiver 1, especially with a bye week. Not this upcoming week, but the week after that. Chiefs could make a trade at some point this week, use that bye week to get them up to speed, get them into the game plan, and then week 7 hit the ground running. That could be a Deontay Johnson. That could be a DeAndre Hopkins. Somebody like that. Those two certainly feel. Amari Cooper, maybe. Those 3 feel like they could definitely be there. And you're welcome, Nino. If you got any other questions, definitely shoot them my way. That goes for anybody in the chat, anybody watching, and even watching after the fact. If you comment underneath a video, I will do my best to answer them, as will the other people here at Flurry Sports. We will all jump in and chime in. Anthony Richardson, I haven't seen an update on him yet. That's been one of the more quiet ones, I feel like. Let me look really quick just because I don't want to pass that, because that is such a big player that a lot of people were relying on, and that affects, obviously, everybody on the Colts. Anthony Richardson hit pointer is what it officially is. Okay. Will it be evaluated this week? I mean, he's not going to play this week. They haven't ruled him out yet. They're still giving him projections for this week. The Colts don't have a bye until week 14, which is kind of crazy. I would assume Anthony Richardson out for sure this week against Jacksonville. They have the Titans after that, so they have 2 divisional games. Certainly tough, but it would be nice to have Joe Flacco win both divisional games and then maybe bring Anthony Richardson back week 7 against the Dolphins. That feels possible to me, especially it's at home. It's not in Florida. I was going to say a little homecoming, but not homecoming. Crimson is doomed. Lost this week and lost Rice. That sucks. Weak at wide receiver. Any suggestions? His team is Hurts, Hall, Barkley, Nico, Rashee Rice, Kincaid, Aaron Jones, Justin Tucker. Bench is Braylon Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Drake London. You're not doomed. I think you're fine. So your running backs, though, just in case you want to upgrade, like package a running back for a wide receiver. Running backs are Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley. Well, how many people are in this league, by the way? Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Braylon Allen. Yeah, I mean, unless you're an 8-man, I guess you can panic. If it's a 10-man or more, I mean, Nico Collins and Terry McLaurin doesn't feel that bad at this current moment, or Drake London. DeAndre Hopkins, we just said, could possibly be a trade candidate, whether it be to the Chiefs or someplace else. 10-man PPR. I think you're okay. I don't mind trading, but like I love Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is a top 5 running back in the NFL easily when he's healthy. It's just how long is he going to be healthy if he has the workload that he had or has had for the first 4 weeks of the season. So I don't mind going Aaron Jones and sell Terry McLaurin high for a legit wide receiver and a flex-ish running back. I don't mind doing something like that. Chandler and Mostert, I think, are your best bet to trade for Xavier Worthy. You would be trading Ty Chandler and Raheem Mostert? Or you're just saying your best bet is to trade for Xavier Worthy? Because Xavier Worthy's not going to like grow in value. I wouldn't trade Terry McLaurin for Xavier Worthy. I wouldn't do that. I don't think Xavier Worthy really grows in value. The Chiefs are going to bring somebody else in, or they're going to really take over. Kelsey took a lot of that Rashee Rice value. Obviously, Rashee Rice was running those read plays that Travis Kelsey typically ran. Rashee Rice was running those to start the year. That's why he was so valuable and Kelsey wasn't. Now Kelsey's going to be super valuable. We'll see Justin Watson pick up a lot of value there. Maybe they'll use Juju a little bit more. But the Chiefs are going to make a move. I'm totally cool with selling high on Terry McLaurin. I'm just not doing it for Xavier Worthy. I don't get it. Brian, I don't think McLaurin's legit. I don't think he's an elite talent. And I just don't think it's going to be consistent. Like, I like Jaden Daniels. I think Terry McLaurin's so easily taken away by defenses. He just doesn't do enough. He's just too much of a deep threat. And if you're just a deep threat, you can get taken away like that. Brian also says he needs Amari Cooper to get traded to the Chiefs. Sounds like an Amari Cooper owner to me. And as someone who has Amari Cooper on one of their dynasty teams, I agree. Again, that's someone who I'm lower on Amari Cooper than Terry McLaurin. Maybe I am not an Amari Cooper fan, but as someone who would really like for him to perform well, especially since I have Christian McCaffrey and Cooper Kupp as well, I would love for Amari Cooper to do something, anything. But yeah, I'm cool with trading high on Terry McLaurin after 2 really nice weeks. I do really like packaging him with Aaron Jones, getting a legit one at receiver and then getting a flex running back. Who's better value that I should try for? At receiver? Let me know what you're wanting. Because like if I'm trading McLaurin and Jones, obviously I'm not settling for anything less than great because they're both really good. Looking at the top scoring receivers of the year, I don't hate going Chris Godwin and a decent running back. If you do that type of trade, I think you can get a pretty good running back as well. You got Nico Collins. How is Brian Thomas Jr. wide receiver 12? That's kind of crazy. Big game yesterday, obviously. If you're just looking for a value receiver, I mean, I'm not trading Terry McLaurin straight up for a receiver. That's stupid. I can't comprehend position for position trades. Like, I don't know why anybody would accept a wide receiver for a wide receiver trade. Because obviously one side is better. So even if you package McLaurin with looking at your team, just somebody who's just not very good. Honestly, what you could do, you have Breece Hall. Never mind. I was going to try to trade Braylon Allen to the Hall owner, but you are the Hall owner. I don't think you need a panic. Like, Hopkins can only rise in value. McLaurin, I think, is fine. Drake London, I think, is fine. You're certainly not going to trade Drake London for decent value, I don't think. You're okay. You're okay. Hold strong unless you have somebody really shitty on your bench that you can package with McLaurin. Otherwise, play McLaurin. It's fine. Who does Washington play the next couple of weeks? How about that? Maybe that's the question to ask. Can he continue this stretch? He has Cleveland and then Baltimore. Baltimore is going to be tough. Cleveland, I think he could possibly do. I'm not a huge believer in the Browns defense, even though a lot of people are. Then he has Carolina, Chicago, Giants. He can certainly light those three up. Boom, boom, boom. So if you want to hold on to him through that, after that, he has Steelers, Philly, Dallas, Tennessee, bye. And then the Saints, then Philly again. Then the Falcons. So his schedule certainly gets tougher after that stretch. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, for the people who aren't seeing this. So he took losses back to back. So freaking out. The start of this season has been wild. Like, you kind of just have to manage expectations. As long as you're not getting absolutely destroyed with injuries, like, you have a good team. I think just stay a little bit steady and you're going to be okay. The Rashee Rice injury obviously sucks, but there's so many teams that are like 2-1, 3-1 that just kind of got lucky. They had like a big Alvin Kamara performance and they had a really big insert whatever. There's been just insane performances from random people. And there's just not a lot of performance that I think are sustainable long term. So I wouldn't be freaking out if you're 1-3 or something like that. 1-5, 1-4. Once you get to 1-4, freak out. If you're 1-3, once you get to 2-3, I mean, it's a whole new ball game. You're good to go. Keep me updated. Come back for help. We are live Wednesday nights as well. I go over my rankings with Luke and Trevor, and we talk through fantasy news Wednesday nights. So definitely join then as well if you can. And the rankings are going to be up on flurrysports.org. Thursday nights before Thursday night kickoff, we do a start sit show. So you can definitely come back for that as well. We are here to help you out. If you just need a third party look or opinion, we got you there as well. So injuries, we went through Jonathan Taylor. We went through Rashee Rice. We went through Anthony Richardson. Christian Watson, ankle sprain, candidate for IR. If you're relying on it, Christian Watson, I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, Packer fan here. We have a Packers podcast. We've been telling you for years now about Christian Watson, about how he's not that great, and he's not the number one receiver in the offense. It's been Romeo Doubs. The number one fantasy receiver in the offense is Jaden Reed, obviously, who's the most talented, but Doubs operates as the wide receiver one there. Without Christian Watson on the field, that opens up snaps for Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks also a much better player than Christian Watson. And I think he is someone who you can pick up. It would be deep league. I like Dontavian Wicks as a player a lot. I just don't think his role is going to be very consistent, especially when you have an inconsistent quarterback throwing him the football. Joe Mixon was out again this week. I fully expect him to be back next week. And then I just wrote down Travis Etienne ? What was that this week? Sidelined to start the game, shoulder injury, comes back in. Looking at it right now. Yeah, he exited the game after 2 plays due to a shoulder injury, did return. Like, I assume he's playing next week against the Colts, which is a great matchup. I can't imagine you feel overly optimistic about it. But, I mean, if you're a Travis Etienne owner, I think I said that. I can't remember who I said this about last week to somebody. Like, if you're an Etienne owner, what are you going to do about it? Like, you're not trading him. If you're trading Etienne, you're selling him for pennies on the dollar. What's the point? Like, do you sit him? Maybe. He is a flex value at best going forward. And takes, I mean, he's in a similar position to Rachaad White, except for Rachaad White's hurt. Actually hurt, not just a shoulder injury. Rachaad White has a groin injury. But that's all I got for major injuries. I'm not sure if there's other ones looking through. There's some injury news here. Raheem Mostert not expected to play tonight. Bum, bum, bum. Obviously, Rice out. Herbert gets a week to rest now with his bye. Cordell Patterson got hurt. That stinks. He was definitely looking like the best running back the Steelers have had this season. He has an ankle injury. We'll see there. Okay, so yeah. Puka Nacua out at least another month. So potentially coming back around week 9. Cooper Kupp expected to miss at least 2 more weeks. And yeah, there's a bye in there. So I expect him to miss like 3. Would be my guess. Philly Eagles, what's up? Should I trade Zay Flowers for ETN? That's an interesting one then. I'm thin at running back, deep at wide receiver. 2 players definitely underperforming. I think you can get ETN for even cheaper. I don't hate that trade, but I would check in with that ETN owner and just be like, assuming you're in a league with somebody you know, right? I would message the ETN owner and ask, like, what's the temperature here? Like, what are you feeling about ETN? Because you could potentially get him for less than Zay Flowers, I think, because there's a lot of people freaking out, a lot of people pissed off. But in a vacuum, at the end of the day, would I trade Zay Flowers for ETN? Assuming you're as stacked at wide receiver as you say, I think I would. I don't hate ETN. I don't love ETN. Like I said, he's probably more of a flex value at this current moment just because I don't really trust him to score touchdowns. And if he doesn't score touchdowns, he better have a lot of yards. And if he's only getting 12 to 14 touches, I just, it's tough to generate all of those yards. Okay. Keep asking questions. We'll keep pausing and answering any questions there are. We should probably talk about some of the waiver wire pickups, though. Let me find where I got those. Too many tabs are open. We'll start with quarterbacks, obviously, and work our way through, but wide receivers is probably going to be the biggest topic with all of the injuries and shit like that and bye weeks. Okay. Do I think Ladd would be a better choice? That's interesting too, actually. If you can trade Ladd McConkey for him, I think I'd rather give up Ladd than Zay Flowers. The only hard part about selling Ladd McConkey is that he's on a bye week. So they would be giving up ETN and not even being able to play them. So they would have to have a good record, most likely. You're not going to get somebody who's patient at 1-3. But if they're 3-1, I would check on that. Yeah, for sure. Okay, quarterbacks that you should pick up. I think Justin Fields is an obvious one. He just showed he can pass for 300 and rush. So I like his matchups coming up. He is proven to be very good. He has the Cowboys this week. The Cowboys lose DeMarcus Lawrence. Micah Parsons is beat up. So definitely a beatable defense there. Justin Fields is. He has a high floor just because of those legs. So if you are panicking, if you have Jalen Hurts on bye or something like that, go for Justin Fields. And then Sam Darnold. I mean, I don't know what else Sam Darnold has to do at this point. I don't think the Vikings are necessarily beating great teams other than the 49ers, and the 49ers were beat up. But, I mean, hey, Sam Darnold is getting the job done, and now Jordan Addison is back. That makes that offense even better. In a couple of weeks, he's going to get TJ Hawkinson back. So I think Sam Darnold is matchup proof. I think at the current moment, until he proves otherwise, I think Sam Darnold's a very good option. And this is a team that, they can't really lead on the run and just run the ball over and over. They kind of have to use the pass to set up their running game. And that's really good for Sam Darnold. Other quarterbacks, we'll see what Geno Smith does tonight, but Geno Smith has continued to be really good for fantasy. They run that up-tempo college-style offense, and he's got weapons all over. People continue to doubt Geno Smith, and I understand it, but if he puts together a good performance in primetime, you bet he's going to be one of the top picked-up players. I would prefer to pick him up than Joe Flacco at this current moment. Any other quarterbacks? Weird week. I feel like that's about it. That's about it for quarterbacks. Again, you're not really preparing to be without a lot of quarterbacks this week. You got Anthony Richardson hurt. You got Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts on bye. You're probably not playing Herbert and Levis anyway. And then obviously watch Snoop Huntley tonight. Tyler Huntley plays tonight. He could certainly be great. He's been pretty good for fantasy, decent for fantasy over his career when he's gotten starts. And now he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to throw to. And A-Chain. So definitely worse situations there I would watch for Tyler Huntley. Running backs, Kareem Hunt has to be the top one just because of what he did. I think that backfield is his. Even though Clyde Edwards-Helaire is coming back, I think Clyde is more of a complimentary guy. So I think this is Hunt's job for a month at least. I like him quite a bit. The Colts situation's interesting. I think Jonathan Taylor's out. Trey Sermon's the next man up. Like I said before, the Colts worked out a veteran named Leonard Fournette earlier this season. I think it was before week 1. Now, so that means they know exactly where he's at. He can come in and play, but they also didn't sign him. So obviously he didn't blow them away to the point where they felt like they needed him on the roster. I just don't think Trey Sermon's very good. So I don't really think you need to pick up Trey Sermon. I know a lot of people are going to be vouching for that. He doesn't excite me. He doesn't move the needle for me. I would pass on that. I would rather spend one fab buck on Fournette as just a speculative ad than 10 or whatever on Trey Sermon. I just don't get it. I'm not excited about him. Rico Dowdle has been the best running back for the Cowboys. He is definitely somebody who needs to be picked up. Even if Dalvin Cook comes back, I think Rico Dowdle is going to be the number one guy until he's proving he can't do it. We've had a lot of Travis Etienne chatter, and Tank Bigsby is the one who has been running really well there. He definitely needs to be owned. He's had a couple big games. He didn't really play in week 2. He got hurt on special teams and then was out. He may have been out week 3 as well. Can't remember. It's been a long week, but Tank Bigsby's looked really good. He's running extremely well. It makes you wonder why Travis Etienne can't do it. But Tank Bigsby's in a similar situation as Bucky Irving, where he's the better runner at this current moment. He's more decisive. He's a strong runner, and his role is going to continue growing. But Etienne and Rashad White both have a stranglehold on that third down role. So I don't think they're going to be like a bell cow or anything. But if they're the short yardage guy, if they're going to get the red zone carries and they're going to get early down carries, certainly need to be owned. They are considered a handcuff with upside. If you can get a handcuff that you can play in your flex spot every single week, that's awesome. Love that. Roschon Johnson for the Bears. Khalil Herbert's a thing of the past, so now it's DeAndre Swift and Roschon. And it's about time. Roschon Johnson's a stud. I think he's a really good player. DeAndre Swift had a really good game finally, so I don't think he takes over the backfield there. But again, Roschon Johnson appears to be a handcuff with upside, so definitely pick him up in deeper leagues. Tyler Algier is still not owned in enough leagues, under half of leagues. And and same thing with Braylon Allen. And obviously I'm a Wisconsin guy, so I actually really love Braylon Allen. Tyler Algier is not going to go away either, though. But how many studs need to go down in fantasy, especially at the running back position, before we realize if there's a true handcuff, please pick them up. So if you are a Bijan Robinson owner, make sure you have Tyler Algier, please. It's way more valuable than inserts whatever bumfuck running back who's going to get 8 carries every week and just never grow in value. Pick up Tyler Algier if you're a Bijan Robinson owner. Pick up Braylon Allen if you're a Breece Hall owner. And even if you're not one of those owners, I mean, that just sounds like trade bait in the future, or you're going to randomly have a really good running back some week, because we've seen Jonathan Taylor get hurt, Christian McCaffrey get hurt, and then obviously Josh Jacobs is getting a huge workload. He could get hurt. Aaron Jones has a huge workload. He could get hurt. So we're talking about Emmanuel Wilson until Marshawn Lloyd comes back for Green Bay. We're talking about Tyler Chandler in Minnesota. You just got to, at some point, you have to handcuff these guys. If there's true, obvious handcuffs, please handcuff them. And for Arizona, I think it's Trey Benson. It's only a matter of time before James Conner goes down, so definitely look at him. Keaton Mitchell, I don't think he's a handcuff, but he's going to be coming back pretty soon. He is somebody who's very interesting to be that lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder in the running game. I like Justice Hill. I don't think Justice Hill is going away. But if you're selling me Keaton Mitchell's going to get the blocking that Derrick Henry's been blocking or getting blocking, I mean, that's just a home run waiting to happen. I like it a lot. Any other running backs? Bucky Irving still owned in too many leagues. I mean, he's the same situation as Tank Bigsby, as Tyler Algier. Handcuff with upside. Go pick up Bucky Irving, please. Please, like, don't be the person to be like, oh man, my team is 1-3, and I had Rashad White, and now I don't have this guy. Now I don't have Bucky Irving. Like, that's your fault. Go pick him up. Okay, wide receivers. This is the big one this week, even though we just named a bunch of running backs. A lot of running backs need to be owned more. But no Rashee Rice, no Amon Ra next week. Rashee Rice out. Amon Ra on bye. Obviously, the Philly receivers are hurt, but they're also on bye. So definitely wide receivers that need to get picked up here. And let's start with Wan'Dale Robinson. Obviously, played on Thursday. I think a lot of people were introduced to Wan'Dale Robinson, which is good because he's a great player. Obviously, playing underneath while Malik Neighbors does his thing. Neighbors is insane, but Robinson's super talented. He's just been plagued by injuries in the past, years. But Wan'Dale Robinson's going to continue to work underneath. In PPR especially, he's going to be a target monster. So go ahead and pick him up. Josh Downs, playing in the second week, coming back from injury. Expanded role this week, 1, because he's just getting healthier and getting work back into the game plan. But 2, because Joe Flacco's in there. And with all the pass rush and stuff, they could just check it down to Josh Downs. I don't think that's necessarily going to change. And as long as Flacco's in there, I like Downs even more. Definitely needs to get picked up. 9 targets, 82 yards and a touchdown this week. 8 catches. Not necessarily a fluke. I mean, the touchdown, I don't think he's going to have like super high touchdown upside. But especially in PPR leagues, I think he's a wide receiver 3 with upside pretty commonly if he has Joe Flacco throwing him the ball. Trey Tucker, we talked about him earlier. Second-year receiver out of Cincinnati. He has now played 80+% of the snaps in back-to-back weeks. He played nearly 80% of the snaps, I believe, in week 1 as well. So it's not like Devontae Adams is here and he's not playing. Devontae Adams is gone. He has an every week role. But we've seen what the Raiders look like without Devontae Adams. Trey Tucker is featured. He gets the ball in a variety of ways. I think he's a very good player to pick up right now, especially because Devontae Adams is hurt, but the Raiders could turn around and trade him at any moment, especially if they start losing a bunch of games. So that would only open up more value for Trey Tucker, who I think is a wide receiver 4 with upside. Has been very good the past couple of weeks. I would probably put him as wide receiver 4 with upside, though. Dontavian Wicks, another maybe wide receiver 4 with upside. I think he's super talented. Christian Watson out. So Wicks is going to get a little bit more targets. He is the best route runner on the team, minus Jaden Reed. He might be better than Jaden Reed at route running. He's more explosive. He's just very, very good. I just don't think the targets are going to be super reliable. And then you have to deal with the inaccuracy of Jordan Love as well. So I don't think he's going to be super consistent, but he's worth a speculative pickup in deeper leagues, I think. Rookie Jordan Whittington came alive a little bit. He's someone who I've been talking about a couple of weeks. He is the guy that sees a big boost in value, I think, with Cooper Kupp out. I think he's going to operate from the slot a lot. Tutu Atwell continues to play super well. He needs to be owned as well. But I think Jordan Whittington is going to see quite a bit of targets underneath. So as long as Cooper Kupp is out, go ahead and pick him up, especially in PPR leagues. Anybody else at wide receiver that I'm missing? Xavier Legette. I think he's a good player. He's getting a ton of snaps. And again, the Panthers are a team that I would assume, are going to be in trades coming up. They could trade Adam Thielen, and they could they're for sure trading Deontay Johnson. They have to. Deontay Johnson's in the final year of his deal, and he's been playing pretty well. So look for Deontay Johnson to go to the Chiefs. If you want to buy Deontay Johnson before he gets traded to a better situation, I certainly think you can do that as well. But that only opens up even more targets for Xavier Legette. So I think you can definitely pick him up. And his role should only grow throughout the season. I think that's about it. Mike Williams, go see if he's out there. I like him. I like him as a player. The Jets' offense should certainly be better than what they showed, right? Couldn't get much worse. And he still had an okay day. Okay, tight ends, and then we will do our defense streamers, and then we'll answer any final questions you guys got, and we'll get the hell out of here. So, I just exited where I had them. Okay, tight ends. Kind of a weird week. There isn't a ton of players to pick up. I mean, you can go for Taysom Hill. I don't think that's going to be super reliable. You know what I mean? So it is what it is there. He always kills the Falcons, though. So next time they play the Falcons, I would pick him up. Cade Otton, he is not super exciting. He's not super exciting to watch. He's not overly exciting for fantasy. But there are very, very, very few tight end options where they just don't really have competition to push them for snaps or anything like that. So if you're struggling at tight end, if you've been rolling out Mark Andrews still, I mean, look for Cade Otton. I think he's a reliable few points for you every single week. And then if he happens to catch a touchdown, then that's fantastic. I forgot to look. I think Eric All is somebody like that as well. The rookie out of Iowa for the Bengals. He's a pretty good player, and he's getting snaps there. What did he finish with this week? Eric All, 4 catches, 28 yards on 4 targets. I think that's going to be about where he's going to be. Again, does that blow you away? Absolutely not. But if he catches a touchdown, that's a top-ranking tight end week. And otherwise, that's just steady points. So if you're in a deep league, and again, you're starting Mark Andrews or somebody like that, and you're really struggling at tight end, or if you need a bye-week streamer, I think Eric All can definitely be picked up and relied on for a few points, which is all you kind of need. You just need your tight end not to lose you the week. And somebody like Cade Otton, Zach Ertz, Eric All, players like that, I think you can be relied on for 6 points in PPR leagues. That's all we need. Give us 6, and that is fine. Let me bring up really quick Yahoo tight end ownership because I'm just interested to see where people are. Okay, so players who I think you can pick up someone better. Kyle Pitts is owned in 98% of leagues. There's people better. Mark Andrews is owned in 97% of leagues. He is droppable. I wouldn't drop him. I'd try to trade him, but he is droppable. David Njoku hasn't been playing. He should come back next week, hopefully. He's owned in 75% of leagues. Dalton Schultz is owned in 70% of leagues. He's droppable. Mike Gesicki is owned in 50% of leagues. I think you can get better than him. Tyler Conklin didn't have a good week, but he can get better. Zach Ertz is owned in 30% of leagues still. That blows my mind. Just take the free points. Zach Ertz has, 16 targets this season in 4 weeks. So he's averaging 4 targets a week. Go get it. It's right there. Colby Parkinson has had 12 targets the past 2 weeks. He has had 5 or more targets in 3 of the 4 games. Go get Colby Parkinson. And again, I'm not saying to start him over the obvious studs. I'm not saying to pick up these guys and put them on your bench. Who cares? You're not going to win based on bench points. But don't actively shoot yourself in the foot with Mark Andrews, with maybe Kyle Pitts, with Mike Gesicki, with people like that. Cade Otton. Cade Otton has 17 targets the past 2 weeks, 13 catches. Go pick him up. In Yahoo, he is owned in 15% of leagues. It's insane. Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft is very clearly the tight end to own in Green Bay. He just came off of a really good week, 9 targets, 6 catches, 53 yards on a touchdown. Will that be sustainable? Hell no. But I think he's going to see a steady 3 targets per game, 4 targets per game. That's fine. That's fine for a bye week fill-in. It is what it is. Yeah, Eric All owned in 1% of leagues. He has gotten 4 targets in every single game he has played. 4, 4, 4. Easy as that. Anybody else to own for tight end? Or at least look at? Probably not. Not for the most part. But yeah, go pick up those guys. Or at least look to see if they're out there, see if they're a better option for you. Maybe you trade your tight end who's borderline bad, right? To someone who has a terrible tight end situation, then you pick up one of these guys because it's really not that big of a downgrade. That's certainly a strategy to take as well. Okay, and let's talk about streaming defenses. I will talk about defenses owned in less than 60% of Yahoo fantasy leagues. If they're owned in more than 60%, I'm just assuming you can't pick them up, right? Because the majority of leagues will not have these guys. So looking at week 5, I mean, Seattle plays tonight, so we'll see how they do. It'll be a short week for them, but they play the Giants next week. They're owned in 27%. I like that. The Broncos play the Raiders next week. Broncos are at home as well. They're owned in 17%. Broncos have been good. Broncos have gotten double-digit fantasy points in 3 of 4 weeks. I like that a lot. Patriots, I don't love this a ton. We'll see how Tyler Huntley does tonight. But Patriots are owned in 3% of leagues. Patriots play the Dolphins next week. So I think that definitely could be a matchup where they are okay, right? If you have a defense on bye, you're in a deep league. Patriots are okay next week. And the Raiders, owned in 26% of leagues, they play the Broncos next week. They will also be okay next week. And I think Max Crosby will be back for them, hopefully. Washington's owned in 1% of leagues. They play the Browns next week. I am pretty confident that the Browns are not going to embarrass the Washington Commanders. The opposite could happen, but I don't think the Browns are going to light the world on fire. Commanders' defense is not very good. They're not overly skilled. They're playing hard, which is all you can really ask for. Owned in 1% of leagues. If you're in a 16-team league or something like that, your defense is out next week, or they're just playing shitty. They have a bad matchup. Go ahead and pick up Washington. But that should be plenty of options for you guys. One of those will be available. I like them all. They're all perfectly fine. And of course, Wednesday night, we'll be going over my rankings here in the Flurry Sports YouTube channel. So you will be able to see my rankings then. And on flurrysports.org throughout the week, you can look at defensive rankings there. You can look at the rest of the rankings there to see if I have someone available ranked higher than the people you got. Let's win week 5. This is where the fantasy players start winning. First 4 weeks, there's a lot of luck. There's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of chaos. Obviously, we've talked to people today that are 1-3 and freaking out. I get it. However, now bye week start. The committed players are going to be searching the waiver wire. They're going to be planning for the bye weeks. They're going to figure out how to get wins from now until week 14. Let's stay on it. Let's get the right bye week fill-ins. Let's get some fucking wins. Let's go get it. Come back this Wednesday, and we will help you once again. We will see you then. I will see you then. If you have any questions after the fact, after this video, comment them under the video. I will answer them, or go to Twitter or X at Fantasy Flurry. You can tweet them at me, and I will answer you there as well. Until then,